Okay, good morning. We have quorum. So with this, I would like to start this morning's proceedings. We will mainly deal with species proposals, but before we can go to them, we don't have any housekeeping announcements. But I would like to remind you that in the beginning of the afternoon, I will look at several more summary record documents for us to agree on. It's summary records 5, 6, and 7. They are on the website in all 3 languages, so please take a look so that we can agree on them. Then we also have a COM document, which is COM2 on songbirds, that I would also like to have a look at early in the afternoon. Yesterday, when we looked at COM1 Rec 1, so the summary record of the first session, we had one issue that with China that wanted to have a certain text inserted. So I will give the floor to the Secretariat to read that out so that we are clear what will be amended in summary record COM1 Rec 1. So Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And as the Chair had mentioned, there was a request by China to make sure that their intervention was captured in item 101, resolving the implementation of the CoP20 decision that the convention applies to fungi. So the change in question that we need to add is at the bottom of page 5 in the English version under item 101. And at the moment, there's a paragraph there which reads, China, supported by Q8, proposed deletion of draft decision 20DD, believing this would impose an unnecessary administrative burden, and proposed an amendment to draft decision 20CC. So we suggest that to capture China's amendment, we introduce the following additional text and a minor amendment to the current sentence that's there. So at the end of the sentence, the existing sentence, we suggest it should now read, and proposed an amendment to paragraph B of draft decision 20CC. And the text would then continue as follows. This amendment was to insert the following text after open quotation marks, whether any amendments are required, close quotation marks, namely, and then opening quotation marks, and this was China's specific amendment, taking into account that the term specimen in Article 1 of the Convention does not explicitly specify fungi, and then close quotation marks. So I will read that one more time. At the end of the first sentence, it's and proposed an amendment to paragraph B of draft decision 20CC. And then continuing, this amendment was to insert the following text after open quotation marks, whether any amendments are required, close quotation marks, namely, open quotation marks, taking into account that the term specimen in Article 1 of the Convention does not explicitly specify fungi, close quotation marks. So that, I hope, captures China's intervention correctly. There's one other minor edit to COM1 Rec 1, which is on the very first page under item 36. And in the paragraph there, there's a paragraph that begins Brazil, Canada, the European Union and its member states. And then it repeats Canada again. So it has been suggested to us that we should delete the second mention of Canada. So we will do that in our edits. So I think those are the changes, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. I would like to give the floor to China if they are in agreement with the proposed edits.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, and thank you, the Secretary, for the help. Thank you. We agree with that.
Thank you, China. So with this and the two other changes proposed by the United States yesterday, I think the committee agrees on COM1 Rec 1 with the amendments from China, Canada, and the United States. Okay, thank you very much. Now we can move on to the first proposal this morning, which is CoP20 Prop 2 on gazelle Dorcas, the Dorcas gazelle, to include that species in Appendix 2. The proponents are Benin, Burkina Faso, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, Sudan, Tunisia. I would like to invite Niger, I think, to present that document. Yes, I see Niger, you have asked for the floor. You have the floor.
Ok, merci Monsieur le Président de nous donner la parole pour présenter la proposition visant à inclure la gazelle Dorcas à l'annexe 2, conformément donc à l'article 2, paragraphe 2A de la Convention. Cette proposition est soumise par le Niger conjointement avec le Bénin, le Burkina Faso, le Mali, la Mauritanie, le Nigeria, le Sénégal, le Soudan et la Tunisie. Le transfert de la gazelle Dorcas à l'annexe 2 est motivé pour les pays auteurs de la présente proposition à cause du déclin constaté de cette espèce dans la plupart des États de son aire de répartition. Un déclin global estimé selon nos investigations à plus de 30% au cours des 3 dernières générations. Le déclin se poursuit ces dernières années et est estimé à près de 30%, dont environ moins de 10 individus restent dans l'aire de répartition. Les principales causes de ce déclin de nos jours restent et demeurent la chasse légale et illégale par rapport donc à la viande, les cornes et autres parties, et le commerce local et international. Selon la base de données du commerce CITES, entre 2000 et 2022, plus de 4000 équivalents d'individus complets de gazelles Dorcas ont été exportés, principalement à des fins commerciales. Les spécimens prélevés dans la nature représentent environ la moitié de ces échanges. L'espèce est classée vulnérable au niveau mondial par l'UICN, certaines populations régionales étant considérées comme en danger. Parmi les pays proposants, elle est déjà éteinte au Sénégal, possiblement éteinte au Nigeria. Son statut est inconnu au Burkina Faso et aucune estimation récente fiable n'existe pour la Mauritanie ou la Tunisie. Le Niger abrite actuellement l'une des plus importantes populations restantes dans la réserve naturelle nationale de l'Aïr et du Ténéré, ainsi que dans le massif du Termite Tontuma. La régulation des prélèvements pour le commerce international est devenue indispensable pour garantir la légalité, la durabilité et prévenir de nouveaux déclins ou disparitions locales. Une inscription à l'annexe 2 est essentielle pour atteindre cet objectif. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous vous invitons donc respectueusement donc les partis à soutenir cette proposition. Merci.
Thank you, Niger, for introducing this document. I now open the floor for comments from parties. I see Djibouti, you have the floor.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président. Bonjour, chers collègues. Mon pays fait partie de l'aire de répartition de cette espèce de gazelle. Nous appuyons son inscription à l'annexe 2. Monsieur le Président, la Corne de l'Afrique est très souvent touchée par par une sécheresse récurrente. Les saisons de pluie sont très fortement perturbées par les changements climatiques. La rareté de l'eau impacte des milliers d'espèces sauvages. La diversité biologique est impactée, particulièrement dans mon pays, et il y a une situation d'urgence pour les espèces sauvages terrestres. Au-delà des aléas climatiques, la chasse perdure et impacte fortement les rares espèces qui résistent au changement climatique. Pour cette espèce, Djibouti a mis en place une législation forte pour interdire la chasse, la capture et la détention. Malgré ces dispositifs législatifs, la population de la sous-espèce de la gazelle Dorcas, Gazella Dorcas belzini, que l'on trouve à Djibouti, a fortement diminué ces 3 dernières décennies. Le commerce illégal a un impact considérable. Chers collègues, outre les politiques de protection nationale, l'espoir de conservation de ces espèces sauvages terrestres de l'Afrique nous vient très souvent des décisions des instances et des conventions des parties des différentes conventions des Nations Unies. Votre décision ici change beaucoup de choses sur le terrain. Cette espèce et les autres espèces sauvages terrestres luttent à survivre dans cette région du monde de la Corne d'Afrique. Nous appelons sincèrement les autres délégations d'appuyer afin de juste réglementer le commerce international de cette espèce. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Djibouti. I have Benna.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Bénin soutient cette proposition qui a été soumise et d'ailleurs co-auteur de la proposition. Et je voudrais souligner que cette proposition a été attentivement analysée au niveau des pays de la région Afrique où un consensus a été trouvé. Merci donc aux autres parties de nous soutenir dans le cadre de cette proposition. Merci.
Thank you, Benna. J'ai l'Algérie. Vous avez la parole.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'Algérie étant un État de l'aire de répartition de la gazelle Dorcas, espèce hautement protégée au niveau national, enregistre que la population de cette espèce vulnérable est en déclin, où elle ne dépasse pas les 1000 individus. Reconnaissant que la commercialisation n'est pas la principale menace, néanmoins, elle aggrave réellement la pression sur l'espèce, d'où la nécessité de renforcer son statut de conservation au niveau international. L'Algérie, en faveur de la conservation des espèces menacées, de ce fait, on soutient l'inscription de la gazelle Dorcas en annexe 2 de la CITES. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Merci. I now have Togo. Togo, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président, pour la parole. C'est avec fierté que le Togo s'exprime pour soutenir la proposition d'inscrire la gazelle Dorcas à l'annexe 2 de la CITES. Monsieur le Président, bien que cette espèce ne soit pas présente sur notre territoire, je vais dire au Togo, nous sommes pleinement conscients de son importance écologique et culturelle pour de nombreux pays et de la gravité du déclin qu'elle subit à travers toute son aire de répartition. Moins de 10 000 individus sont dénombrés actuellement en Afrique, comme rappelé par l'Algérie. Alors, l'inscription à l'annexe 2 permettra non seulement d'encadrer strictement le commerce international, mais aussi de garantir que tout spécimen échangé soit légalement acquis et durablement prélevé. Et enfin, cette inscription permettra de renforcer l'harmonisation des législations et la coopération entre États africains contre les trafics transfrontaliers. Nous rappelons également que la gazelle Dorcas est déjà inscrite à l'annexe 1 de la Convention sur les espèces migratrices, communément appelée la Convention CMS, où les parties ont reconnu la nécessité d'un niveau de protection renforcé. Ainsi, adopter donc cette proposition permettra d'assurer une cohérence essentielle entre nos engagements internationaux. Le Togo invite donc respectueusement l'ensemble des parties à soutenir cette proposition fondée sur la science et guidée par l'urgence de préserver un patrimoine naturel menacé. Je vous remercie pour la prise en compte de notre intervention.
Thank you, Togo. I now have Tunisia.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Chers partis, la gazelle Dorcas est inscrite à l'annexe 3 de la CITES par la Tunisie depuis 50 ans. Exactement en 22 avril 1976. Son statut de conservation haïtienne est en danger dans les pays méditerranéens depuis le 1er janvier 2008. Elle est également inscrite à l'annexe 1 de la Convention sur les espèces migratrices. Durant ces dernières années, une sévère domination de leur population causée par une exploitation non durable, bien documentée, comme la chasse illégale persistante, la capture des jeunes individus dans la nature, le commerce international d'animaux vivants et des parties, souvent provenant des spécimens sauvages. On ajoute aussi la forte dégradation des habitats, notamment due au surpâturage. Ces pressions dépassent la capacité d'action d'un seul État. Même avec une protection totale au niveau national, nos efforts ne peuvent être pleinement efficaces tant que la demande internationale est très forte. De ce fait, il est temps de protéger la gazelle Dorcas dans son aire de répartition, et cela entre dans l'objectif de la Convention CITES, et permet d'assurer que tout commerce soit légal et durable, de renforcer le contrôle du commerce international et d'améliorer la coordination entre les États de l'aire de répartition et mieux lutter contre les trafics transfrontaliers. La Tunisie, en tant que co-auteur de la proposition, elle invite l'ensemble des parties à participer à la conservation de gazelle Dorcas et à soutenir la proposition présentée, qui constitue une étape indispensable pour garantir la survie d'une espèce emblématique de nos écosystèmes arides et fragiles. Je vous remercie.
Merci à la Tunisie. Now I open the floor to Morocco. Morocco, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Since Morocco is taking the floor for the first time, we would like to thank our host, the government of Uzbekistan, for its warm hospitality, and we also thank the Secretariat for its continuous support. As a range state, we observe firsthand the growing pressures on this iconic Sahelo-Saharan species. The data presented indicate a widespread and ongoing decline across nearly all range states, with the populations becoming increasingly fragmented and isolated. In Morocco, the Dorcas gazelle is classified as endangered, with an estimated wild population of only 1,500 to 2,000 individuals. This species remains severely impacted by illegal hunting and unregulated trade, driven by demand for meat, trophies, skins, and even live animals. Listing the species in Appendix 2 will establish a control over international trade, which is essential to reduce cross-border trafficking and strengthen enforcement. This measure will strengthen our national conservation efforts, including monitoring programs and ongoing initiatives for population reinforcement and reintroductions. For these reasons, Morocco expressed its full support for the proposal to include Dorcas gazelle in Appendix 2. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Morocco. I now have Brazil.
Thank you, Chair. Brazil supports the inclusion of the Dorcas gazelle in Appendix 2 as proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Panama.
Gracias, señor presidente. Obviamente no somos parte del área de distribución de la especie, sin embargo, Panamá quiere ser consecuente con la necesidad global de conservación de la vida silvestre y por ello apoyamos la propuesta número 2 de inclusión de gacela Dorcas en el apéndice 2. Gracias.
Thank you. Now I will have United Kingdom.
Thank you, Chair. The UK supports the proposal as presented by the proponent parties. the species meets the listing criteria for Appendix 1 due to levels of international trade and population declines. We also note that the proponents represent many of the range state countries and the majority of the trade in this species. Perhaps if the Chair will indulge me, but as the current Chair of the CMS Standing Committee, I feel it would be remiss of me not to remind those parties here present who are also parties to CMS to note that under the CMS, this species is listed under Appendix 1, which means there should be no take of the species. Thank you.
Thank you, UK. I have a very long list of parties, and so far I only have heard support for the inclusion of this species in Appendix 2. I will take 3 more, and then I will ask those who are in favor to remove themselves from the list, because we have heard overwhelming support so far. I would like now to hear Gabon. Gabon, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Gabon souhaite exprimer son ferme soutien à la proposition d'inscrire la gazelle Dorcas à l'annexe 2. Notre pays, engagé dans de longues dates dans la protection de la biodiversité africaine, considère que cette initiative est essentielle pour prévenir un déclin irréversible de l'espèce. Bien que la gazelle Dorcas ne soit pas présente dans nos écosystèmes forestiers, nous savons que les pressions exercées sur la faune africaine, en particulier la chasse illégale et le commerce international non durable, sont interconnectées. Les dynamiques qui menacent la gazelle Dorcas sont similaires à celles qui affectent de nombreuses espèces que nous protégeons au Gabon. Moins de 10 000 individus subsistent aujourd'hui en Afrique. L'inscription à l'annexe 2 contribuera à réguler le commerce international, à renforcer la coopération transfrontalière et à soutenir les États de l'aire de répartition dans leurs efforts de conservation. Le Gabon invite les parties à soutenir cette proposition par cohérence avec leurs engagements régionaux, notamment dans le cadre de la CMS où l'espèce bénéficie déjà d'un statut strict de protection. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Gabon. And last speaker, Israel.
Thank you, Chair. Israel as a range state strongly supports this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. So before concluding, I would like to ask some IGOs, NGOs to see if they want to take the floor. I have Suko, South Africa.
Thank you, Chair. It is inevitable that this species is headed for Appendix 2. That's quite clear. We should like to point out, though, that perhaps this is the species that should be the poster child for CITES for the next 50 years. The reason being, when parties or nation states or range states believe that CITES is the silver bullet to solve their own inability to manage a species in situ and apply what really requires on the ground to save a species from decline, there's not going to be a change in the species' future. Every tool is at the hands of the parties that are range states for this species to save it on the ground. And yet they come to CITES to say that this is going to be the solution to the problem. It is not. The elephant has featured on the CITES logo for 50 years and continues to decline. And yet where there is political will and ability applied properly, the elephant is abundant. And so would it be with the Dorcas gazelle, should the countries that are privileged to be its range states actually apply political will and put the methods in place to save the species. This is not going to be the solution to the Dorcas gazelle, and it shall be the next poster child of CITES not being the solution to the problem in this case, because as the Secretariat correctly points out, it does not meet the criteria for listing. Thank you.
Thank you, Suko, South Africa. I have AWI. Can you please identify yourself?
Thank you, Chair. I'm making this intervention on behalf of the Animal Welfare Institute and 14 other non-governmental organizations. The Dorcas gazelle once had the most extensive distribution of any African gazelle. Today, it is no longer present in most of its former range, and the remaining small, isolated populations are at a high risk of further decline. The greatest threat to the species is illegal hunting. but it is a popular pet within and outside its range and widely present in privately owned captive collections. Most international trade is in live specimens. These removals from the wild for the international pet trade compound the impact of hunting and the mainly local trade in parts, including horns, meat, and skin. The Dorcas gazelle meets the biological criteria for listing in Appendix 2. International trade is contributing to the species' decline, and trade regulation is necessary to avoid it becoming eligible for inclusion in Appendix 1 in the near future. An Appendix 2 listing will facilitate monitoring and help strengthen national laws and their enforcement in range, transit, and consumer states. It would also be consistent with the objective of aligning policy and legal frameworks between CITES and CMS, where, as noted by the UK, it is listed on Appendix 1. No opposition to this proposal has been expressed by any range state, and we urge the rest of the parties to respect this regional consensus and list the species on Appendix 2. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Animal Welfare Institute. I still have two co-proponents on the screen, but I think I have said if you are in agreement, then that is quite obvious, and we don't need to spend more time on this, because I see Mauritania maintains its will to speak, so be very brief, please. Mauritania.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Mauritanie, État de l'heure de répartition de la gazelle Dorcas, soutient pleinement cette proposition d'inscription à l'annexe 2. Dans notre pays, l'espèce est aujourd'hui en danger en raison de la chasse illégale, de la prédation, du surpâturage ainsi que de la dégradation des habitats. Nous avons mis en place des mesures nationales fortes, notamment au sein du parc national de Bandarguin, où des efforts de conservation sont engagés. Mais la réalité est que des efforts nationaux ne suffisent pas contrecarrer la pression externe liée au commerce international, en particulier la demande d'animaux vivants et de parties ici des spécimens sauvages. L'inscription de l'annexe 2 renforcera notre capacité à encadrer et surveiller le commerce, à harmoniser nos réglementations avec celles de nos voisins et lutter plus efficacement contre les réseaux transfrontaliers impliqués dans le trafic de la faune. La Mauritanie, en tant qu'auteur de cette proposition, appelle toutes les parties à soutenir cette proposition essentielle pour garantir la survie de l'espèce dans toute la région. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mauritania. I think we have now heard enough support. There has been nobody speaking against it. So my conclusion is that proposal CoP20, Prop 2, to include Gazella Dorcas in Appendix 2 was accepted by consensus. So with this, we can move on to the next proposal, which is CoP20, Proposal 3 on Saiga tatarica. And the proposal is to amend annotation A2 to Saiga tatarica to read zero export quota for wild specimens traded for commercial purposes, except for specimens from the population Saiga tatarica of Kazakhstan. This proposal has been submitted by the Republic of Kazakhstan, so I would like to invite Kazakhstan to introduce this proposal. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Republic of Kazakhstan, as the proponent of the document COP20 Proposal 3, would like to briefly outline its position on the proposal. At the COP18, parties agreed to set the zero quota for wild specimens of Saiga antelope traded for commercial purposes. For many years, Kazakhstan implemented strict and effective measures to protect and restore Saiga antelope. Those significant efforts of Kazakhstan led to an essential increase in numbers of Saiga antelope in Kazakhstan. Population of Saiga tatarica from 2003 till 2025 increased more than 200 times. from 21,000 to more than 5 million individuals. Currently, Kazakhstan is the habitat of 99% of the global Saiga antelope population. In 2023, IUCN downgraded the status of Saiga tatarica from critically endangered to near threatened. At the same time, a rapid population growth is accompanied by new challenges for Kazakhstan. Proposal 3 is aimed at creating a transparent and verifiable management system, and in particular provides a strict scientific justification of any use and directing 100% of the revenues from the international trade of Saiga specimen back to conservation measures. Kazakhstan has developed sufficient control mechanisms and traceability system management of Saiga horns, which were demonstrated before and during the Saiga side event here at the CoP20. After extensive discussions of our proposal with the parties, IGOs and NGOs, the Republic of Kazakhstan came up with an amendment to our proposal. The amendment is available on the CITES website as the document CoP20 Inf 75. However, today I would like to highlight some minor changes which were jointly discussed and agreed with the European Union, United States, and the United Kingdom. Based on above, Kazakhstan proposed to amend the annotation for Saiga tatarica in Appendix 2 in accordance with the resolutions Conf 9.24 and the Conf 11.21. The full text of the revised annotation will read as follows: zero export quota for wild specimens traded for commercial purposes except for specimens from the population of Saiga tatarica of Kazakhstan. Here was a comma, but we deleted the comma. Under the following conditions: Little a, trade in only government-owned whole horns originating in Kazakhstan, stockpiled and marked in accordance with marking and traceability requirements developed by Kazakhstan. Little b, prior verification by the Secretariat and Kazakhstan in consultation with the Standing Committee. Here we would like to add the wording for clarification through its chair. So the wording is in consultation with the Standing Committee through its chair, that sufficient control mechanisms and traceability systems are already in place in Kazakhstan and trading partners. Little c, Kazakhstan supervises the first shipment to each new trading partner to ensure the marking and traceability systems are in place and working adequately. And little d, limited to a total amount of 30 tons until COP21, and in square brackets, or 40 tons if COP21 is in 4 years. Square brackets should be deleted before the plenary after the decision on Doc 7.5 on arrangement for meetings of the Conference of Parties, to be reviewed in order to determine a potential for further trade based on a revised proposal. Also in square brackets, on a proposal from the Secretariat, square brackets should be deleted. The Standing Committee can decide to cause these trades to cease partially or completely in the event of non-compliance by exporting or importing countries, or in case of proven detrimental impacts on trade on Saiga population. End of our amendment. These measures are being proposed also to ensure that any legal trade in Saiga horn from Kazakhstan will not have negative effect on entire Saiga population. Kazakhstan is confident that potential consumer countries have stressed their full commitment to ensure full traceability prior horns are legally imported. In this regard, Kazakhstan calls on parties to support the document COP20 Proposal 3 and adopt the amendment of the annotation for Saiga tatarica in Appendix 2. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Kazakhstan. I will have to ask you to read out the amendment once more, really slowly, so that parties have a chance to catch up who are not in possession of the INF document. So please read it out slowly.
Thank you. So the full text of the revised annotation will read as follows: zero export quota for wild specimens traded for commercial purposes except for specimens from the population Saiga tatarica of Kazakhstan. Here was the comma, but we
slowly, please, really slowly.
So the document is available on the website as well, but zero export quota for wild specimens traded for commercial purposes, except for specimens from the population Saiga tatarica of Kazakhstan. Here was the comma, but we deleted the comma. Under the following conditions. Little a, trade in only government-owned whole horns originating in Kazakhstan, stockpiled and marked in accordance with marking and traceability requirements developed by Kazakhstan. Little b, prior verification by the Secretariat and Kazakhstan in consultation with the Standing Committee through its chair that sufficient control mechanisms and traceability systems are already in place in Kazakhstan and trading partners. Little c, Kazakhstan supervises the first shipment to each new trading partner to ensure the marking and traceability systems are in place and working adequately. And little d, limited to a total amount of 30 tons until CoP21, and in square brackets, or 40 tons if CoP21 is in 4 years. Square brackets should be deleted before the plenary after the decision on Doc 7.5 on arrangement for meetings of the Conference of Parties, to be reviewed in order to determine a potential for further trade based on revised proposal. In square brackets, on a proposal from the Secretariat, square brackets should be deleted. The Standing Committee can decide to cause this trade to cease partially or completely in the event of non-compliance by exporting or importing countries, or in case of proven detrimental impacts of the trade on Saiga population. End of our amendment.
Thank you, Kazakhstan. I open now the floor to parties to discuss the amended proposal as we just have heard, because the amended proposal replaces the original one. So we are now only looking at the amended proposal. So I see Algeria has asked for the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'Algérie reconnaît les mesures de gestion mises en place pour la conservation de l'espèce Saiga en Kazakhstan et soutient cette proposition d'amendement telle prononcée par l'auteur de la proposition. Il est à signaler aussi que cette proposition a reconnu un consensus au sein du groupe africain. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Algeria. I have Kuwait.
Thank you, Chair. Kuwait support Kazakhstan proposal. The document shows that Saiga population has strongly recovered thanks to Kazakhstan major conservation efforts. Kazakhstan also has a clear control system to prevent the illegal trade. We believe this proposal scientific, well managed, and will support long-term conservation. As well, we support all the amendment made by Kazakhstan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kuwait. I have Kyrgyzstan.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Кыргызская республика, принимая во внимание официальные данные, подтверждающие стабильный и стремительный рост численности казахстанской популяции сайги, сайга татарика, а также те механизмы контроля, разработанные для обеспечения прозрачного и регулируемого перемещения дериватов рога сайги, поддерживает инициативу Республики Казахстан о внесении дополнения в аннотацию с формулировкой «за исключением образцов из популяции сайга татарика Казахстана». Как соседняя страна, видящая реальную ситуацию на местах, мы подтверждаем, что текущая численность сайги уже создает значительные сложности для населения, сельских хозяйств и особенно для пастухов. Эти факты широко обсуждаются как экспертным сообществом, так и в социальных сетях и интернет-источниках. Предлагаемое дополнение аннотации позволит учитывать региональные особенности управления популяцией и обеспечить более гибкий и научно обоснованный подход. Кроме того, регулируемое пользование позволит Казахстану получать дополнительные финансовые средства, которые, согласно представленным подходам, будут направляться непосредственно на охрану и мониторинг вида. Такой механизм создает устойчивую финансовую базу для дальнейшего укрепления мер по сохранению сайги. Благодарю за внимание.
Thank you, Kyrgyzstan. I now have Tajikistan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kazakhstan has successfully restored the population of Saiga and faced the need for its sustainable use. Tajikistan fully supports Kazakhstan on Proposal 3 as amended with consensus of EU, USA, and UK. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I have Qatar.
Thank you, Chair. Qatar appreciates the detailed work presented by Kazakhstan in the proposal. Also, we know the significant conservation progress achieved for the Saiga and the strong management measure now in place. We are therefore pleased to support proposal number 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have Brazil.
Thank you, Chair. We would like to warmly congratulate Kazakhstan on the remarkable success in conserving the Saiga. Through decades of dedication, you have helped the Saiga population recover from the brink of extinction. What once numbered only a few tens of thousands is now flourishing again across the steppe. This recovery is a powerful statement to what strong environmental leadership, long-term vision, and collective effort can achieve. We believe it is important to recognize the tremendous efforts made, and that is why Brazil is favorable to the amendments proposed by Kazakhstan. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. I now give the floor to Mongolia.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, the government of Uzbekistan, for hosting the CoP20 and well organized. There are approximately 24,000 Mongolian Saiga these days distributed in the western region of Mongolia. Since it is impossible to distinguish, identify the horns of Saiga tatarica and the Mongolian Saiga morphologically, often after horn trade would be increased demand and illegal trade, and put the Mongolian Saiga population at risk. We are very highly opinion about the conservation work of our Kazakh colleagues and with the successful introduction and with the good number of population. However, during this time of climate change induced biodiversity loss, it is important to improve wildlife conservation and pay special attention and caution to the environment and wildlife, especially we mean that the Mongolian species of gazelle, Saiga borealis. The Mongolian Saiga population and the range are highly dynamic, changing rapidly due to factors such as Mongolia's extreme climate, extreme cold, drought, its harsh winter, and pasture degradation due to livestock pasture, lack of food for the Saigas, and linear infrastructure development and construction. The Mongolian Saiga is spread over 4 million hectares and grazes in the vast areas, which is making it impossible to control illegal hunting and difficult for the patrolling. Also, because it coexisted with patrollism with domestic livestock, share pasture with the domestic livestock, there is high risk also of animal diseases, especially infected diseases. For example, the Mongolian Saiga population decreased by 54% for 1.5 years. About 5,400 animals died. Such is a result of the outbreak of small ruminant disease, PPR, in 2017. Saiga horns are the top on the list of items from illegal hunting in Mongolia and trade by border customs inspection agencies. The number of seized Saiga horns of unknown origin in Mongolia has increased by thousands over the past 5 years and continues to increase. And there is the lack of qualified personnel, technical and laboratory capacity to distinguish whether it is Saiga borealis or Saiga tatarica from Kazakhstan. Therefore, we do not support the proposal to open the trade in Saiga horns. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mongolia. I now have Uzbekistan.
Thank you, Chair. The Republic of Uzbekistan commends Kazakhstan for its remarkable success in restoring the Saiga population. It is an important example of long-term conservation commitment in the entire region. We also appreciate Kazakhstan's effort to strengthen traceability, marking, and control systems, which are essential for ensuring that any future trade remains legal, transparent, and strictly regulated along the whole supply chain. We remain committed to working closely with all range states, and we support further strengthening of CITES, CMS synergies to ensure the long-term conservation of Saiga across its entire range. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Uzbekistan. I have the European Union.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We congratulate Kazakhstan on the conservation success on their Saiga population. We extend our sincere thanks to Kazakhstan for their transparency and constructive dialogue with us, especially during the past few days, to reach a consensus together with the United States and the UK as presented in INFDOC 75. We fully support the proposed amended annotation as presented by Kazakhstan with their amendments made on the floor. We believe this annotation for Saiga will provide an opportunity for Kazakhstan to take the first steps to open trade with Saiga horns under strict conditions and with sufficient safeguards to ensure that the trade is legal, sustainable, traceable, and unlikely to impact the wild populations negatively. The coming years of trade until CoP21 will be an opportunity to test the robustness of the system, both in Kazakhstan and its trading partners, and the sustainability of the trade. We believe this amendment, reached by consensus between 30 parties, can address the concerns other parties may have. We appreciate the support given on the floor and further invite other parties to support this amended annotation for Saiga tatarica. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, European Union. I now give the floor to the Russian Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Российская Федерация приветствует работу и усилия, проведенные нашими казахстанскими коллегами по восстановлению численности популяции сайга. В контексте обсуждения мер по сохранению сайгака особое значение необходимо уделять созданию надежных правовых и административных механизмов. В рассматриваемом вопросе важным является наличие эффективного и четкого национального законодательства, устанавливающего подходы к учету и регулированию численности популяции на основе обоснованных научных данных. Исключение вреда для популяции любого мигрирующего вида животного, в том числе и сайгака, является приоритетной задачей. Сторонами ареала важно регулярно проводить оценку численности, основываясь на наилучших научных методах и постоянный контроль его состояния. Важнейшим практическим инструментом является внедрение унифицированной и защищенной системы кодирования рогов, обеспечивающей полную прослеживаемость и исключающей возможность нелегальных перевозок, а также принятие мер по исключению использования кода unknown в отношении торговли рогами сайгака в нелегальных целях. Это пункт 85.2 повестки COP20. Комплексный подход по управлению состоянием популяции сайги должен обеспечивать стабильное ее состояние и позволять реализацию предложения Казахстана. Российская Федерация поддерживает представленную сегодня поправку в аннотацию коллегами из Казахстана. Спасибо.
Thank you, Russian Federation. I now have United States of America.
Thank you, Chair. The United States would like to commend Kazakhstan on the incredible recovery of their Saiga population, and we recognize and appreciate Kazakhstan's thoughtful development of a comprehensive marking and traceability system for its domestic stock of Saiga horn intended for international trade. Given the ongoing concerns regarding the potential for laundering of illegally sourced horns into legal trade channels, the United States applauds the collaborative efforts led by Kazakhstan and supported by the European Union, the United Kingdom, and the United States to add additional annotation language detailing clear trade criteria, which provides safeguards to ensure that laundering and illegal trade will not occur in Saiga horn, consistent with annotations developed for other species subject to similar trade. Therefore, the United States supports Kazakhstan's amended annotation to remove the zero export quota for wild specimens traded for commercial purposes, except for specimens from the population in Kazakhstan with the additional conditions outlined by Kazakhstan. We also hope this significant discussion here at CITES CoP20 will generate increased attention and support for populations of Saiga outside Kazakhstan, including in Mongolia. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I now have Mexico.
Gracias, señor presidente. Buenos días. México reconoce los grandes esfuerzos de Kazajstán y los excelentes resultados de sus programas de protección y restauración de antelope Saiga, cuyas poblaciones han mostrado un crecimiento estable, alcanzando casi 4 millones de individuos según el censo aéreo de este año. La UICN la reclasificó de en peligro crítico a casi amenazado. Consideramos que Kazajstán cuenta con las normas y controles necesarios para regular su comercio internacional, garantizando que sea legal, sustentable y trazable. Por estas razones, México apoya la propuesta enmendada de Kazajstán. Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Mexico. Now I would like to ask China to take the floor.
Thank you, Chair. China commends the achievements accomplished by Kazakhstan in conservation of Saiga antelope. China believes that sustainable use of this space contributes to further conservation of Saiga antelope. Therefore, China supports adoption of this proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, China. I now have Singapore.
Singapore supports this proposal and the amendments made by Kazakhstan. Thank you.
Thank you, Singapore. I have Colombia. Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Colombia quiere agradecer la propuesta de Kazajstán y reconoce los esfuerzos orientados a la conservación de la especie y la evidencia científica que soportan la misma para un uso sostenible, por lo que apoya la propuesta con las condiciones que fortalezcan la trazabilidad, legalidad y el uso sostenible. Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Colombia. I have Azerbaijan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Azerbaijan fully supports this amendment to take in consideration that during the last years, Kazakhstan made a successful achievement on the building the sustainable population cycle. So therefore, Azerbaijan fully supports this proposal. Thank you.
I do have overwhelming support for this proposal as amended by Kazakhstan. So I will take 4 more parties and then I will try to wrap up. So I have Namibia. Namibia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Namibia wishes to express its support for the proposal submitted by Kazakhstan. Our position is grounded in our shared commitment to sustainable use as a proven conservation model, a principle that has underpinned Namibia's own success story across multiple species. We therefore recognize and commend Kazakhstan for applying these same principles with dedication and integrity. Kazakhstan has demonstrated remarkable conservation achievements, particularly through the recovery and continued growth of these species. These gains are the result of deliberate policy choices, significant national investment, community involvement, and long-term management planning, elements that closely mirror Namibia's own experience in rebuilding wildlife populations. For Namibia, this proposal is not merely a procedural adjustment, it is a recognition of a conservation model that works, especially when local stewardship, scientific management, and regulated sustainable use are aligned. We therefore stand firmly with Kazakhstan, confident that this proposal will strengthen conservation outcomes and support the long-term viability of this species. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Namibia. I have Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Japan would like to commend Kazakhstan for its outstanding efforts for Saiga tatarika conservation. We also support this proposal, including reverse annotation, in addition to the intervention raised by other parties. The revenue gained from trade is intended to be reinvested in mitigating conflicts with local farmers and the conservation of Saiga tatarika. Combined with the regulated harvesting, this scheme of sustainable use will help to reduce tensions with farmers while contributing to the conservation of this species. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And lastly, I will give the floor to United Kingdom. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United Kingdom would like to begin by expressing our sincere thanks to the Republic of Kazakhstan for their amended proposal as presented and detailed in InfDoc 75, including the additional minor amendments which improve clarity. We commend Kazakhstan for the cooperative and transparent manner in which they have engaged throughout this process. The proposed amendments to the annotation set out a comprehensive range of safeguards designed to ensure traceability and to minimize illegal trade and detrimental impacts to Saiga populations. And we are pleased to offer our full support for this proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We have had quite overwhelming support. We have one party who was in opposition, which is Mongolia. So I would like to go back to Mongolia. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Mongolia would prepare no Saiga horn trade internationally. However, we recognize the steps taken by Kazakhstan friends to amend their original proposal and acknowledge the Euro Union, USA, and UK for their consultation on this amendment. Mongolia still has concerns regarding the proposed quota amount in the amendment. 30 tons of Saiga horn represents approximately 75,000 Saiga male animals. So Mongolia would like to note that the opening of the trade in Saiga horns, opening the trade in Saiga tatarika horns will may increase illegal trade in Mongolia on Saiga borealis, increase pressure and load at the border customs, inspection agencies, and risk the fragile Saiga population in Mongolia. So, dear colleagues, we should concern about that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mongolia. I will now give the floor to IJOs and NGOs, but Mongolia, I will have to come back to you because so far you are the only party in the opposition and you will have to decide whether you want to block the consensus or whether you want to go to a vote. So I will come back to you on this. So I have Conservation Force.
Thank you very much, Chair. This intervention is delivered on behalf of Conservation Force, Dallas Safari Club, and other 23 supporting organizations. Kazakhstan has achieved one of the world's greatest conservation success stories. The recovery of the Saiga antelope is projected to reach 5 million after this year calving. Do parties need more evidence to support Kazakhstan? Kazakhstan is not asking for the regulation, Chair, is asking for a precautionary science-based full traceable amendment. I will shorten my intervention, Chair, for the sake of time. And I would like just to say that Kazakhstan is presenting a model for CITES parties: modern technology, robust science, responsible governments, aligned for the long-term wildlife conservation and community livelihoods. I've been working on CITES issues for 35 years, Chair, and this is by far the strongest, most precautionary case for legally regulated trade that I ever seen. I also would like, Chair, to advise Mongolia, because every single conservation success needs to be inclusive. And Mongolia, I would advise Mongolia to enter into a collaborative agreement with Kazakhstan in order to establish, based on learned lessons from the Kazakhstan successes, a robust management program to allow its population to grow. This is about collaboration, Chair, and I really hope that Kazakhstan could enter into an agreement with, Mongolia can enter into an agreement with Kazakhstan to establish proper collaborative measures. Let me end this, Chair, by recognizing and applaud Kazakhstan's outstanding conservation success. I really believe that the party should
Can you
really
wrap up, Conservation Force?
It was the end, Chair, and we would like really to applaud Kazakhstan and to tribute to Kazakhstan a standing ovation for its remarkable successes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. There are still two parties on the list, but I think if you are not in support, then I will take you afterwards. But if you are in support, please take yourselves off the list. I now have traffic, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is an IUCN traffic intervention. As we have heard, Saiga tatarica populations in Kazakhstan have recovered substantially, now exceeding 3.9 million. The amendment made after consultation with several parties provides additional clarification to strengthen the original proposal. We note that the strengthened verification and traceability provisions have strong potential to ensure that future exports originate from legal sources. We commend consumer countries which undertake stockpile inventory and call on all transit and consumer countries to implement stockpile management and traceability. In the amended proposal, Kazakhstan limits trade in whole horns to 30 tons over a 3-year period if the COP is in 3 years' time, representing the current level of government stockpiles accumulated under population control programs presented in INF Doc 23. Overall, the amended proposal represents a measured and precautionary approach consistent with Annex 4 of Resolution Conf 9.24. We should recognize that the recovery of the Saiga in Kazakhstan is an extraordinary conservation success story. It demonstrates that CITES works and that with sustained management efforts, the species can be brought back from the brink and once again provide benefits through well-regulated, sustainable trade. We stand ready to support these efforts through improved stockpile management approaches and traceability systems in source, trading, and consumer countries. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Traffic. And last speaker, WCS.
Thank you very much, Chair. We are concerned about this amended proposal, although we agree it is much better than the original proposal, and we appreciate the flexibility of Kazakhstan. Uncontrolled hunting for horns and meat caused the first major decline in Saiga in the early 20th century, and I remember well COP9 when the Saiga first went to the appendices. Although Saiga have increased in Kazakhstan, which is fantastic, we remain concerned about proposed offtakes, science-based quotas, and stockpile management, particularly in consumer states. Allowing sales of specimens from Kazakhstan will create enforcement challenges. It will assuredly increase consumer demand in multiple countries, posing an increased risk to endangered Saiga populations. Opening sales risks increased demand, illegal trade, and poaching, particularly threatening the endangered Mongolia population. We hear their concerns and their fears, and we encourage greater support from parties to their conservation and enforcement efforts. Parties, you learned a great deal from the one-off sales of elephant ivory. Please be cautious. This is more of a three-off sale, actually. We hope this works, but strong safeguards are more effective than hope, and we recommend even greater safeguards and vigilance. We don't want to sit at COP21 and hear reports on poaching and increased illegal trade, and we commit to working with parties to see that doesn't happen. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, WCS. Now I would like to come back to Mongolia to see if they want to block the consensus, or if they are available to not block the census, and so that we can agree in consensus on that proposal, or if Mongolia wants to go for a vote. So, Mongolia, you have the floor.
So, Mongolia and Kazakhstan has very long tradition and very friendly countries, and so Mongolia would say that, or Mongolia is saying that we do not block the issue. But Mongolia proposed that upon the recommendation of the Secretariat, the Standing Committee may decide to suspend, whether partially or temporarily or entirely, the trade in Saiga antelope horn in cases if exporting or importing countries have failed to comply with the above-mentioned requirements, I mean the Euro Union suggestions, amendments, or where such trade is demonstrated, trade of the horn is demonstrated to have adverse impact, especially negative impacts on other Saiga populations in other countries. Then Mongolia would like to highlight, we are fully agreed that Kazakhstan has successful conservation on Tatara Saiga and has achieved good numbers in population, but still we are concerned about the Saiga populations in Mongolia, Saiga borealis. And Mongolia would like to highlight that the opening of trade in Saiga horns might increase illegal trade in Mongolia on Saiga horns, increase pressure and load at the border customs, inspection agencies, and also the fragile Saiga population in Mongolia become at high risk. Thank you. So we suggest we go to the voting process. Thank you.
Okay, so Mongolia is asking for a vote on this issue, okay? Is that correct?
Yes, Mongolia is ready to go for the voting process.
Okay, so we go for a vote on this proposal at the request of Mongolia. So this is a vote on proposal number 3 on Saiga tatarica, the Saiga antelope, to amend annotation A2 as proposed in the proposal and amended by Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan on the floor, and as we have all heard. The voting type is by normal vote. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the delegation of the EU. Since this is a vote on the proposal for amendment of Appendix 1 or 2, the decision will be adopted by a 2/3 majority. I see Mexico, you have asked for the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Es una cuestión de procedimiento. Necesitamos escuchar dos opiniones a favor y dos en contra de que haya votación, si mal no recuerdo, para poder proceder directamente a la votación.
To Mexico, we are deciding on the amended proposal, and the amended proposal by Kazakhstan, and we didn't reach agreement. We haven't consensus in the room, so it is up to the chair to propose to go for a vote, and we will have that vote. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I start again. So this is a vote for proposal CoP20 Proposal 3 on Saiga tatarica as amended by Kazakhstan. The voting type is a normal vote. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the delegation of the EU, since this is a vote on a proposal for amendment of Appendix 1 and 2. The decision will be adopted by a 2/3 majority. So technicians, are we ready? Okay, we are ready. So parties, you have now 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. Can you please display the results on the screen? So with 111 votes in favor and 7, can you please wait with this? And 7 votes against and 14 abstentions, the proposal CoP20 Prop 3 to amend the annotation A2 to Saiga tatarica as amended by Kazakhstan was accepted. And for Mongolia, I think we have heard that there are many parties in support of Mongolia in the future, and I think that this will have to be remembered, and I think you will get the support, and your concerns have also been will be noted in the summary record. Okay. Please, technicians, can you display the individual votes on the screen? Okay, with this, I think we can move to the next proposal, which is CoP20 Prop 4 on Giraffe camelopardalis, the giraffe. The proposal is to delete the populations of Angola, Botswana, Eswatini, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe from Appendix 2. I think it is South Africa who will be introducing that proposal, if I'm correct. I see South Africa has asked for the floor, so you have the floor to introduce the document.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and parties that are present. South Africa, together with our co-proponents, Namibia, the United Republic of Tanzania, and Zimbabwe, is pleased to present Proposal 4 to exclude the giraffe populations of Angola, Botswana, Eswatini, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe from the Appendix 2 listing of Giraffe camelopardalis, as these populations do not meet the criteria for listing in accordance with paragraph 2 of Article 2 of the Convention. The giraffe populations within these range states collectively exceed 49,000 individuals and are showing positive growth trends and geographic range expansion. While an NDF conducted by South Africa's Scientific Authority concluded that international trade poses a low risk to the species. Giraffe has a regional red list status of least concern due to increasing conservation efforts in southern Africa. Information document CoP20 Inf 63 includes a report on the current conservation status of all giraffe populations. This proposed amendment, Honorable Chairperson, to the CITES appendices aligns with the latest species concept for giraffe, which now recognizes 4 extant species of giraffe, with the southern giraffe, Giraffe, occurring in Angola, Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. The population of southern giraffe in Zambia is not included in this amendment proposal because Zambia is also a range state of the endangered Giraffe tipplescutch. Adding the genus Giraffe to the list of priority groups for nomenclature updates, as presented in paragraph 82 of CoP20 document 110 on standard nomenclature, should resolve any concerns around a split listing. Lookalike issues are highly unlikely to arise. To invoke the lookalike provision, there would have to be reasonable levels of international trade in specimens sourced from the populations proposed to be retained in Appendix 2. However, according to CITES trade data, less than 2% of trade events in giraffe derivatives originate from only 2 of these populations, one in Uganda and the other in Niger. Information document CoP20 Inf 63 includes an analysis of trade data reported to CITES since the Appendix 2 listing in 2019. It is also highly unlikely that suppliers of giraffe products in southern Africa will ever source giraffes from these populations, since there is a substantial and increasing local population to source from. It would also not be cost-effective to transport specimens of such large animals long distances, either legally or illegally. Since inclusion in Appendix 2, there has been no evidence of significant illegal trade, and recorded confiscations are minimal. Live giraffes and any products with the hide intact would be easy to identify as per the identification guide included in information document CoP20 Inf 63. In closing, Chairperson, we wish to point out that the Appendix 2 listing for the southern giraffe comes with an administrative cost, especially for South Africa, which accounts for over 33,000 or 91% of trade events of giraffe products and derivatives. Limited resources should rather be directed towards regulating species that are threatened by international trade, such as succulent plants, cycads, and reptiles. I therefore submit and humbly request support of the parties for this proposal. And finally, one notes that the Secretariat recommends this proposal be adopted. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, South Africa. I open now the floor to parties to intervene on this proposal. I see Senegal.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Distingués délégués, le Sénégal souhaite exprimer son ferme désaccord avec l'amendement proposant de retirer certaines espèces de girafes de l'annexe 2 de la CITES. La girafe, comme vous le savez, est une espèce emblématique de nos savanes. Elle est aujourd'hui confrontée à des menaces persistantes, fragmentation et perte d'habitat, rupture de connectivité écologique, braconnage, conflits homme-faune et impact du changement climatique. Ces pressions ne connaissent ni frontières ni distinction régionale. Elles exigent au contraire une réponse cohérente, unifiée et concertée à l'échelle du continent. Le maintien de toutes les populations de girafes est essentiel pour 3 raisons. Premièrement, il garantit la traçabilité et le contrôle efficace du commerce. Il garantit la traçabilité et le contrôle efficace du commerce international. L'annexe 2 permet d'encadrer strictement les échanges et éviter que les spécimens sensibles ne soient commercialisés de manière non durable. Retirer certaines populations créerait un vide réglementaire et ouvrirait à des voies de contournement, affaiblissant la crédibilité même du dispositif CITES. Deuxièmement, cela soutient les efforts de conservation menés par les États. Beaucoup de pays, y compris ceux de la région, investissent massivement pour restaurer et protéger leur population de girafes. Une réduction du niveau de contrôle enverrait un signal ambigu et risquerait de compromettre ces efforts. Troisièmement, la girafe est une espèce à large répartition géographique. La traiter différemment selon les zones reviendrait à instaurer une inscription scindée, source d'hétérogénéité et de confusion. Une telle approche créerait des failles dans le contrôle du commerce avec des risques accrus de fraude et de blanchiment. Pour toutes ces raisons, le Sénégal invite les partis à rejeter cet amendement et à maintenir l'ensemble des populations de girafes au sein de l'annexe 2. C'est la seule manière d'assurer une protection harmonisée et de prévenir les risques de commerce non durable et de renforcer notre action collective en faveur de la conservation de cette espèce emblématique. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Senegal. I have Benin.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Bénin voudrait reconnaître les efforts qui ont été consentis au niveau des pays ayant fait cette proposition pour le retrait des populations de leur pays. Mais voudrait également reconnaître que dans la proposition qui a été présentée, que des avis de commerce non préjudiciables ont déjà été élaborés. Et cela devrait permettre déjà de pouvoir donc définir des quotas responsables et volontaires pour pouvoir continuer aisément le commerce, puisque l'inscription à l'annexe 2 n'empêche pas le commerce. Sur cette base, nous encourageons donc les pays proposants à continuer à élaborer ces avis de commerce non préjudiciables et à établir des quotas pour pouvoir continuer le commerce. Et nous ne soutenons donc pas cette proposition de retirer les populations de ces pays-là, de l'annexe 2, parce que ça compromettrait les efforts de lutte contre le trafic illégal, étant donné que des parties, dont des spécimens sculptés, par exemple à partir des fémurs de cette espèce, comment est-ce qu'on pourrait faire la différence lorsqu'on serait amené à faire des contrôles. Donc pour ne pas compromettre les efforts des pays qui n'ont pas encore réussi à atteindre une certaine stabilité et continuer à soutenir les efforts nationaux qui sont consentis, nous souhaitons donc que cette inscription complète pour les populations soit maintenue jusqu'à ce que nous arrivions à des niveaux soutenables au niveau régional en Afrique. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Bena. I have Botswana.
Thank you, Chair. Botswana is a range state of Giraffe camelopardalis, and we are in full support of Proposal 4. Botswana has a large and stable population of giraffe, which does not meet the stipulated criteria under ResConf 9.2 Rev CoP20 to justify inclusion in Appendix 2. The southern giraffe is fully protected and well managed in Botswana, and we urge range states where giraffe are under threat to put in place the necessary domestic measures to address all conservation challenges. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Botswana. I have Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Japan would like to commend Southern African countries for their continuing efforts to conserve giraffes. We are pleased to support this proposal for the following reasons. First, concerning the population proposed to downlist, the species shows an overall trend of increase and range expansion across its range in Southern Africa. Second, as indicated in information document CoP20 in 63, most specimens traded originated from Southern African countries where the populations showed the above-mentioned trends even prior to its inclusion in Appendix 2 in 2019, and do not meet the criteria for the Appendix 2 listing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Japan. I have Niger.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, pour la parole donnée. Le Niger a été un porteur de la proposition visant à l'inscription de la girafe, Giraffa camelopardalis, à l'annexe 2 de la CITES lors de la COP18. Nous souhaitons donc exprimer clairement notre opposition par rapport à cette proposition d'exclure certaines populations de girafes de l'annexe 2. Notre position repose fondamentalement sur 3 éléments. Il s'agit dans un premier temps sur une cohérence scientifique encore insuffisante, c'est-à-dire que donc, la proposition invoque une révision taxonomique très récente, fondée sur des travaux toujours en cours d'acceptation dans plusieurs organisations scientifiques et de conservation. Or, la résolution CONF 9.24 demande que tout changement de statut s'appuie sur un consensus établi et stabilisé. Ce n'est pas le cas ici. Une révision taxonomique ne doit pas servir à affaiblir les mesures de protection d'une espèce dont plusieurs populations restent encore vulnérables. Le deuxième élément, il s'agit d'un risque évident pour l'intégrité du commerce légal. Monsieur le Président, créer 2 régimes distincts pour des girafes très difficiles à distinguer une fois transformées en trophées, en peau ou produits dérivés expose les États au risque de blanchiment, complique le travail de contrôle et conduit à une fragmentation inutile du régime CITES. La capacité pratique à distinguer les sous-espèces n'est pas démontrée au niveau des frontières. L'annexe 2 a précisément pour rôle de prévenir ces types de confusion. Pour ce qui est du troisième et dernier élément de notre position, il s'agit d'un précédent dangereux. Monsieur le Président, il faudrait retirer donc les populations de l'annexe 2. Quelques années seulement après leur inscription, reviendrait à affaiblir la crédibilité de la Convention, alors même que la pression internationale sur les espèces emblématiques ne faiblit pas. Cela créerait un précédent permettant à d'autres parties demain de fragmenter les inscriptions pour coutumer les contrôles de la CITES. Pour toutes ces raisons, le Niger invite les parties à rejeter cette proposition, à maintenir un cadre clair, cohérent et protecteur de l'ensemble des populations de girafes dont le Niger en abrite les dernières populations en Afrique de l'Ouest. Sur ce, je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Niger. I now have Rwanda.
Thank you, Chair. Rwanda commends the Southern African conservation efforts applied to grow the giraffe species population. While we recognize the positive conservation achievements in Southern Africa, we are concerned that moving this population from Appendix 2 would create enforcement challenges and increase risk of illegal trade in threatened giraffe species. Giraffe products are difficult to distinguish between populations, and any regulatory loophole could undermine protection for more vulnerable giraffe species elsewhere on the continent. Maintaining all giraffe population in Appendix 2 ensures consistent monitoring, support international cooperation, and upholds the precautionary approach that is central to CITES. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Rwanda. I have now Pakistan. Pakistan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Pakistan notes with concern the growing international trade in giraffes, particularly the movement of live animals for display in zoos and private facilities. Such trade raises serious welfare issues, as giraffes experience substantial stress and suffering during capture, long-distance transport, and subsequent adaptation to captive environments. These impacts are significant and cannot be overlooked. In Pakistan, the import of exotic animals, including giraffes, is increasingly discouraged and widely criticized due to welfare risks, conservation concerns, and challenges in ensuring proper long-term care. Reducing international oversight could unintentionally stimulate demand and enable trade pathways that are difficult to regulate effectively. In light of these concerns, Pakistan does not support the proposal to exclude this species from Appendix 2 in the given countries. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Pakistan. United States of America.
Thank you, Chair. The United States supports removal of the Giraffe camelopardalis populations of Angola, Botswana, Eswatini, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe from Appendix 2. Based on the best available information at this time, these giraffe populations do not meet the criteria in Annex 2A of Resolution Conference 9.24, revised in CoP17 for their continued inclusion in Appendix 2, as they are not small nor have a restricted area of distribution and are increasing. There is no indication that the regulation of trade is necessary to avoid them becoming eligible for inclusion in Appendix 1 in the near future, and that the harvest of specimens from the wild is reducing the wild populations to levels at which their survival might be threatened by continued harvesting of or other influences. It also appears that the precautionary measures set out in paragraph A4 of Annex 4 to Resolution Conference 9.24, revised of COP17, are met. Given the current management measures implemented by these parties, especially those accounting for the majority of trade, it seems unlikely that if these populations were deleted from the appendices, that this would result in them qualifying for inclusion in the appendices in the near future. We acknowledge that there may be difficulty in differentiating between giraffe species and subspecies due to their similarity of appearance. However, given the very limited reported trade in giraffe specimens and products from the populations that occur outside of Southern Africa, we do not believe that removing these Southern Africa giraffe populations from Appendix 2 would create significant enforcement or identification problems. To mitigate any enforcement difficulties for other giraffe populations, we urge each of the parties with reservations to the giraffe listing to withdraw their reservations. And if the proposal is adopted, to withdraw the reservations before the amendment goes into effect. The United States would also support including review of giraffe taxonomy in the nomenclature work of the Animals Committee to consider whether updates are needed to reflect the best available science. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, United States. Just to advise the nomenclature specialist of fauna that I will ask him to take the floor pretty soon on these matters of taxonomy. But with this, I would now open the floor to Kenya.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, Kenya is a giraffe range state and is currently a home to 3 extant species out of the 4 that have been taxonomically recognized by IUCN. Our giraffe population is growing, and one of the extant species, the Maasai giraffe, the population is stable. One of the factors that remains a challenge is international trade. There is a trade for giraffe meat that cross the border. Chairman, the specimens of giraffe that are commercially traded internationally are bones, bone carvings, skin pieces, and meat, and cannot be distinguished between regions of Africa, let alone individual countries. Split listing giraffes will increase enforcement workloads and should be rejected, as all giraffes will be listed in Appendix 2. And I think we gave all the reasons when the listing in Appendix 2 was done at CoP20. And our argument is that there is similarity of appearance to all other giraffes, especially in trade. We therefore want to align with the comments that have been earlier made by Senegal, Benin, Niger, and Rwanda and Pakistan to oppose the split listing of giraffe. Appendix 2 listing do not stop trade. We want that trade to be traceable as required by the convention. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kenya. I now have Zambia. Zambia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to say that Zambia supports the proposal as submitted by South Africa.
Thank you, Zambia. I have the European Union.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je m'exprime au nom de l'Union européenne et de ses 27 États membres. Nous remercions l'Angola, le Botswana, Eswatini, le Mozambique, la Namibie, l'Afrique du Sud et la Zambie pour cette proposition d'annotation à l'inscription de la girafe à l'annexe 2 de la CITES. En 2019, à la COP18, l'Union européenne avait supporté l'inscription de la girafe à l'annexe 2. Nous reconnaissons l'excellente gestion des populations de girafes du Sud, qui correspond à au moins 80% de l'ensemble des populations des girafes en Afrique. Nous avons toutefois quelques inquiétudes quant à la taxonomie qui n'est pas stable. La CITES ne reconnaît à l'heure actuelle qu'une seule espèce. Or, pour la science, l'espèce est passée de 9 espèces, puis une espèce et maintenant 4 espèces en moins de 10 ans. Un travail nomenclatural est à réaliser par le Comité pour les animaux sous la conduite de l'expert pour la nomenclature. La question de la ressemblance également, car les fémurs sont également dans le commerce, pour la coutellerie notamment, et rien ne permet de différencier ces spécimens entre les différentes populations. Toutefois, nous reconnaissons également que le commerce légal des fémurs provient presque exclusivement des pays concernés par la proposition d'annotation. Enfin, le maintien de la Zambie hors de l'annotation est de nature à créer un split listing, même après révision taxonomique, ce qui est dommageable. Nous n'anticipons pas de problème majeur au regard de ces inquiétudes, mais l'histoire nous rappelle qu'il faut avancer avec prudence. L'Union européenne recommande que la nomenclature de la girafe soit ajoutée à l'agenda de travail du Comité pour les animaux afin de clarifier le statut taxonomique des différentes populations de la girafe en préalable à tout changement à l'inscription de cette espèce pour une mise en œuvre efficace de la notation. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
I think it's time to ask the nomenclature specialist for fauna to take the floor to provide his views on this matter. Nomenclature specialist, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. In the document on standard nomenclature for this meeting, document CoP20 Doc 110, in paragraph 82 there is a list of priorities for the selection, preparation, or updating of updated nomenclature standard references. As document Inf 6 to this meeting in paragraph 4 suggests, the genus Giraffe can safely be added to the work program of the Animals Committee's nomenclature working group under this item. So I can assure the parties that we will take up the taxonomy and nomenclature of Giraffe in the coming intersessional period. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for this confirmation. I now have Namibia. Namibia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Namibia is a proponent of this proposal. Giraffe was listed in Appendix 2 of CITES in 2019. However, the populations of Angola, Botswana, Eswatini, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe do not meet the criteria for inclusion under Resolution Conf 9.24, Rev CoP17. These populations are stable or increasing, are effectively managed under strong national regulatory systems, and international trade is not detrimental to the survival of the species in the wild. Namibia wishes to highlight that it holds the second largest population of southern giraffe in southern Africa, with approximately 14,000 individuals, surpassed only by South Africa. This population is stable, well distributed, and forms a cornerstone of our conservation and wildlife economy. Sustainable utilization of giraffe in Namibia generates direct and meaningful financial benefits for rural and local communities. Revenue from photographic tourism, regulated trophy hunting, live animal sales, and associated byproducts supports conservancies, creates employment, funds anti-poaching operations, and contributes to community infrastructure, education, and essential services. This system creates real incentives for local people to protect giraffe and maintain habitat over large landscapes. The continued inclusion of these well-managed populations in Appendix 2 has imposed a significant administrative and financial burden on range states, requiring permits and extended procedures despite formal reservations being entered. These processes divert limited resources away from the frontline conservation and undermine viable conservation-based livelihoods. Namibia therefore supports the exclusion of the Southern African giraffe populations from Appendix 2 listing. This will ensure that CITES measures remain proportionate, science-based, and focused on those populations that genuinely require international trade regulation. Chair, this proposal strengthens conservation outcomes by reinforcing successful management systems, supporting community livelihoods, and allowing us to focus our collective efforts where they are most needed. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Namibia. I will allow 2 more speakers, then I will propose a way forward, or I will go back to the proponents. I have UAE. UAE, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair.
United Arab Emirates supports this proposal of delisting the species in these countries. Thank you.
Thank you. And Malawi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would want to say Malawi is in full support of this proposal.
Okay, I think I will go back to South Africa. You have seen there is a split room here. We have limited support, but also some support for your proposal. So I would like to ask you how you consider proceeding. So South Africa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I think we would like to go for a vote, please. Thank you.
Okay, so we will go for a vote. So everyone please get seated and get ready for this vote. So parties, this is a vote for proposal CoP20 Prop 4 to delete populations of Angola, Botswana, Eswatini, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe of the species Giraffe camelopardalis from Appendix 2. If you, it's weird, yeah. The voting type is by normal vote. I see Djibouti, you have the floor, Djibouti.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ma délégation demande un bulletin secret. Merci.
Okay, there's a motion for a secret ballot. I need to see 10 parties who are in support of a secret ballot. Please press your buttons if you are in favor of having a secret ballot. Okay, stop. It's good. Leave your pressed buttons so that I can read out. It's Pakistan, Somalia, Cameroon, Panama, Kuwait, Cambodia, Namibia, Palau, Malaysia, Nigeria, Djibouti, St. Lucia, Mozambique, Dominican Republic, Honduras, Central African Republic, Tunisia, Côte d'Ivoire, Mauritania, Guinea-Bissau, Lebanon, and DRC. So we have enough to decide that we will go for secret ballot. So again, let me repeat, this is a vote for COP Prop 4 on Giraffe camelopardalis to delete the populations of the species of Angola, Botswana, Eswatini, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe from Appendix 2. So the voting type is by secret ballot. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the delegation of the EU, since this is a vote on a proposal for amendment of Appendices 1 or 2. The decision will be adopted by a 2/3 majority. Technicians are ready, so parties, you have 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. Can you please present the results on the screen? So with 49 votes in favor, 48 votes against, and 38 abstentions, not receiving the required 2/3 majority, the the proposed amendments to the listing of Giraffe camelopardalis in Appendix 2 was rejected. United States of America.
In the spirit of openness, the United States voted in support.
European Union.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Dans le souci de transparence de l'Union européenne, nous souhaitons annoncer que notre vote a été une abstention. Merci.
Thank you. UK.
Thank you, Chair. For transparency, the UK voted abstain.
Lesotho.
In the spirit of transparency, we registered positive to the proposal.
Kenya.
In the issue of transparency, we voted yes. No, we voted no.
Thank you very much, Kenya. Kazakhstan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the favor of transparency, Kazakhstan supported.
Thank you. Congo. DRC.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Dans le souci de la transparence, la République démocratique du Congo a voté pour. Merci.
China.
Thank you, Chair. Considering of the transparency, China supports the proposal. Voted yes. Thank you.
Somalia.
Thank you, Chair. Somalia voted no.
Comoros.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Les Comores ont voté non. Merci.
And finally, Eswatini.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to register that as one of the range states and one of the stated countries seeking the downlisting, Eswatini did not get the floor. And of course, our vote was yes.
Thank you, Eswatini. As in previous proposals, I cannot let all the co-proponents speak because it's obvious that they are in support of it. So, yes. Mali.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Pour question de transparence, le Mali a voté non. Merci.
Thank you. So this concludes Proposal 3. Proposal 4 it was. Okay. Now we move on to Proposal CoP20, Proposal 5, to include the species Okapi johnstoni, the Okapi, in Appendix 1. This proposal has been submitted by the DRC, so I would give the floor to DRC to introduce that document.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La République démocratique du Congo voudrait solliciter les autres partis pour soutenir la dite proposition de l'Okapi johnstoni, qui est une girafe de forêt pour l'inscription. En effet, le classement de cette espèce au regard des menaces et des pressions liées principalement à la destruction sur l'habitat et le commerce international de ces produits et ces spécimens vivants constitue une mesure forte pour éviter les risques de disparition de l'espèce dont les populations ont fortement diminué de plus de 40% entre les années 1995 et 2007. Dans une des grandes zones de concentration, et particulièrement la forêt de l'Ituri, les populations ont diminué jusqu'à 60% au regard des résultats des inventaires de 2022 dans la zone, qui est identifiée comme une zone d'où partent les trafics des produits de l'espèce. Aussitôt inscrit en annexe 1, la République démocratique du Congo a déjà mis en place une série de mesures d'accompagnement à savoir la mise à jour de la stratégie de conservation avec un accent particulier sur les inventaires systématiques des populations dans la zone de répartition, et 2, la signature de plusieurs partenariats publics-privés avec les partenaires pour permettre d'attirer l'attention des communautés internationales davantage, et la mobilisation des fonds pour la gestion durable, et ce, pour la gouvernance. Et en conséquence, la République démocratique du Congo sollicite l'appui des autres parties ici présentes à soutenir la proposition afin de garantir l'espèce Okapi johnstoni. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, DRC, for the introduction. I now open the floor to parties to comment on this proposal. I have Cameroon.
Oui. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Cameroun soutient totalement la RDC dans son optique de protéger ces populations d'Okapi qui, rappelons-le, est une espèce emblématique à ce pays. Merci.
Thank you, Cameroon. Bénin.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Bénin soutient cette proposition qui a été soumise par la RDC, et cette proposition a été analysée au sein des pays de la région Afrique et a obtenu un fort consensus. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Bénin. I have Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we discussed this proposal in the Africa Group, and as Chair of the Africa Group, we support this proposal. We have consensus as Africa in support of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this information on the consensus in the African region. I now have Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Japan would like to express its appreciation to the proponent for preparing this proposal based on the strong will to conserve this species. We understand that the proposal meets the biological criteria set out in Resolution 9.24, Rep. CoP20. We note that this species is endemic and already protected under national legislation, and it is unclear what additional effects by Appendix 1 listing would have. Japan considers it important to clarify the expected benefit of the uplisting in Appendix 1. Thank you, Chair.
I have China. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Considering this is an endemic species to DRC, China supports the proposal and comments for DRC's effort for the conservation of this species. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I have Bahrain.
Thank you, Chair. Bahrain support to uplisting Okapi to Appendix 1. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Brazil.
Thank you, Chair. Since it is an endemic species of DRC, we also fully support the proposal. Thank you.
I have Dominican Republic.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Como todo país soberano, con sus especies endémicas, tienen el derecho a establecer todas las salvaguardas y medidas de conservación que sean necesarias para garantizar la sobrevivencia de estas especies en su medio natural. Apoyamos la propuesta. Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you. Now I have Bolivia.
Buenos días, señor presidente. Al ser una especie endémica, también apoyamos a la propuesta número 5. Gracias.
Thank you. I only have African parties left on my screen, and having heard that all Africa is in favor, I will maybe take 2 more of these parties, but I don't think that all of them have to remain, because I think the support from Africa is clear. I see now Comoros.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Étant donné que cette espèce est endémique, nous appuyons cette proposition numéro 5. Merci.
United States.
Thank you, Chair. The United States supports the proposal to include Okapi in Appendix 1 because the species meets the biological criteria based on the best available science. Thank you.
So thank you. So I have Rwanda.
Thank you, Chair. Rwanda supports listing the Okapi in CITES Appendix 1. The species is endangered due to habitat loss and illegal trade. Stronger international protection and enforcement are urgently needed. We also recommend range state strengthen law enforcement, protect habitat, and engage communities to ensure the Okapi's survival. Thank you.
Thank you. Central African Republic.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La République centrafricaine tient à remercier la République démocratique du Congo, seul État de l'ère de répartition de l'Okapi. Et cette proposition remplit les critères de l'annexe 1. À ce titre, la RCA soutient fermement cette proposition.
Thank you. And finally, New Zealand.
Thank you, Chair. New Zealand also supports inclusion of Okapi in Appendix 1 as it is an endemic species. Thank you.
Thank you. So with the exception of one party, we have unanimous support for this proposal. So as yesterday, I would like to go back to Japan to ask if they want to block the consensus. So Japan, you have the floor.
No, we will not block the consensus. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Japan. So we can conclude by, before I do that, I would like to open the floor to HOs, NGOs. I have WCS.
Thank you, Chair. WCS appreciates and supports this proposal and the consensus in the room. WCS has worked for more than 30 years in the DRC to conserve Okapi and co-manages the UNESCO World Heritage Okapi Wildlife Reserve alongside the indigenous Mbuti and FA communities. The Okapi, as we've heard, is endemic to the DRC and is fully protected. It is a symbol of national pride in the country, as well as a flagship species of the Ituri forest and of great importance to indigenous communities. But in spite of this protection and government efforts, and in addition to habitat threats, there is increasing threat from cross-border trafficking of products, mainly skins, meat, bones, and fat. Therefore, the Okapi clearly qualifies for Appendix 1, which will aid enforcement and help protect this iconic endangered endemic species. We appreciate this initiative of DRC and greatly appreciate the consensus in this room to adopt the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, WCS. If Senegal is in favor of this proposal, please take yourself. Thank you very much. So the conclusion is that proposal CoP20, proposal 6, proposal 5 on Okapia johnstoni to include this species in Appendix 1 was accepted by consensus. We now turn our attention to document CoP20 Proposal 6 on hyena, the striped hyena. The proposal is to include this species in Appendix 1. The proponent is Tajikistan, so Tajikistan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Distinguished Chair, honorable delegates, and esteemed observers, the Republic of Tajikistan is honored to present our first CITES proposal, the uplisting of the striped hyena from Appendix 3 to Appendix 1. The evidence before us is unambiguous. The striped hyena is affected by trade. Its body parts and derivatives are sold for traditional medicines, including aphrodisiacs, and for practices rooted in superstition. Cubs are taken from dens and marketed online as exotic pets. This documented evidence clearly meets the affected by trade provisions under Annex 5. But it is not only the trade itself. Striped hyenas naturally occur at low densities across highly fragmented landscapes in small populations where every loss has an impact. Range states consistently report widespread, undocumented, and often invisible trade that official records do not capture. Their consultations have shown us a reality far more serious than the outdated IUCN Red List assessment. The voices of range states tell us the situation is deteriorating and we must take these warnings seriously. The biological criteria for Appendix 1 are met under Annex 1 Criterion C. A continuing decline is documented, with at least a 10% reduction projected over the next 3 generations. Habitat loss, persistent exploitation, and the species' inherent vulnerability reinforce that it meets Criterion C2. In several parts of the range, conflict and instability further erode protections and accelerate pressures on the species. We also caution against recently circulated higher population estimates that lack peer review and contain inaccuracies. These figures cannot be used with confidence. Our proposal acknowledges the existing data gaps and uncertainties, which is precisely why the precautionary principle is not optional, it is essential. In such circumstances, acting decisively and in the best interest of conservation is our only responsible course. An Appendix 1 listing would provide the highest level of protection under CITES. CoP20, hosted by Uzbekistan, itself a proud range state, offers an important and timely opportunity to take this needed step. The striped hyena was once believed extinct in Tajikistan. Through recently rediscovered, it is still a population in decline and very much impacted by trade and persecution. Across its range, the pattern loss is unmistakable. The species has already disappeared from Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. It is on the brink in Uzbekistan, and it continues to decline in Turkmenistan. Faced with this reality, we cannot turn away from the urgency of need. If we fail to act now, we risk losing not only a species, but the rarest gift conservation ever offers, a second chance. And second chances, once lost, do not return. Tajikistan respectfully calls on all parties to support the uplisting of striped hyena to Appendix 1. Thank you, distinguished delegates.
Thank you, Tajikistan. I now open the floor to parties to comment on this proposal. I have Algeria.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'Algérie étant un État de l'aire de répartition de la hyène rayée, espèce hautement protégée au niveau national, reconnaît que l'espèce subit toujours des menaces, dont le braconnage et le commerce à grande échelle, notamment en matière de prélèvement de la peau, ce qui constitue un risque sur sa survie. L'Algérie, et à l'instar de tout le groupe africain, soutient cette proposition. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Algeria. I have Djibouti.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. En tant qu'aire de répartition de la hyène rayée, hyena, nous appuyons son transfert de l'annexe 3 à l'annexe 1. Cette espèce n'est pas visée par le commerce dans mon pays, mais elle est fortement en conflit avec la population rurale. Persécutée très souvent par des croyances infondées, la population de cette espèce diminue. Contrairement à sa cousine la hyène tachetée, cette espèce solitaire, en majorité, voit son habitat naturel se rétrécir. À ce titre, par souci de conservation, nous nous alignons à cette proposition. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. I have Iran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Iran would like to thank Tajikistan for submitting this proposal. As ecological point of view, the population size of the hyena in all the ranges is clearly declining, and the species receives high pressure from different trends, especially habitat loss and the conflicts. But the main, maybe another important threat that in the species phase 2 is the increasing demand for the trade for traditional use. So supporting this proposal would help the species to could survive and play its ecological role, very important role in its habitats in its ecosystem, and I hope that it would be accepted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Iran. Somalia.
Thank you, Jay. Somalia would like to thank the government of Tajikistan for submission of this proposal, and we fully support it. Thank you.
Russian Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Мы поддерживаем предложение о включении полосатой гиены в приложение 1. Учитывая значительное сокращение глобальной популяции и множественные угрозы. В части указания в документе ссылок на российские интернет-источники в качестве доказательства незаконной торговли сообщаем, что указанные источники не содержат информации о продаже животных и не являются подтверждением факта торговли гиенами. Просим поправить эту информацию в документе или отразить информацию в отчете. Спасибо.
Thank you. Lebanon now.
Monsieur le Président, les représentants des États partis, les hyènes rayées jouent un rôle essentiel dans l'équilibre écologique au Liban, en nettoyant la nature et en limitant la propagation des maladies. Pourtant, elle fait face à de graves menaces, notamment les mises à mort, la destruction de son habitat et le commerce illégal. Sa protection constitue un devoir écologique et international, contribuant à la stabilité des écosystèmes et à la préservation de la biodiversité du Moyen-Orient. Nous avons bien pris note que la secrétariat a recommandé de ne pas soutenir cette proposition, estimant qu'elle ne répond pas entièrement aux critères biologiques de l'annexe 1. Cependant, sur le terrain, nous constatons quotidiennement un déclin réel des populations des hyènes rayées en raison du commerce illégal. Une action immédiate pourrait donc protéger ce qu'il en reste et garantir la survie de l'espèce. Nous appelons toutes les parties à soutenir cette proposition dans la formulation présentée par le Tadjikistan. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Now I have Kazakhstan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to say that we agree that the striped hyena is affected by trade and that it meets the biological criteria under the criterion C. Given the paucity of the reliable data and ongoing threats, we urge parties to consider the precautionary principle. Kazakhstan fully supports Tajikistan's proposal to uplist the striped hyena to Appendix 1 and respectfully calls all parties to vote in favor on this important measure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. After European Union.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We acknowledge that the species is assessed globally as a near threatened in 2015 with a decreasing population trend with a wide but patchy distribution area. However, we do not consider the criteria for Appendix 1 in accordance with Annex 1 of ResConf 9.24 to be met. The global population is not considered to be small, with an estimate of 5,000 to 9,999 mature individuals. The species is not geographically restricted, and the projected decline of 10% over 3 generations is insufficient to be considered as market decline. Moreover, international trade, both legal and illegal, appears to be limited, and in our view, the proposal does not provide support that it is at a level that negatively impacts wild populations. We therefore cannot support the proposal to list hyena in CITES Appendix 1. We encourage range states to monitor the population for more up-to-date data and adopt relevant measures to mitigate threats from direct persecution due to human-wildlife conflicts. Prey-based depletion, habitat loss and degradation, and further human-induced mortality by road fatalities, and to enhance regional cooperation. We would also like to briefly comment on Annex 2 of the proposal regarding consultation outcomes, where it states that the EU, Austria, and Italy have indicated support for the proposal. We would like to clarify that this is incorrect and might be due to a misunderstanding, where our replies to the consultation letters were interpreted as support. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, EU. I have a very long list of parties asking for the floor, so I will have to be choosy. I see Armenia.
As this is the first time Armenia takes the floor, we extend our compliments to the Secretariat for its work and to the Republic of Uzbekistan for graciously hosting this conference. As a range state, Armenia supports the proposal. Striped hyena has always been an extremely rare species in Armenia. Since the early 20th century, its population has sharply declined across the entire region due to the habitat loss and direct persecution by humans. The striped hyena is currently assessed as regionally extinct, with the last confirmed sighting in Armenia in 2010. We urge parties to support the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I have Kuwait.
Thank you, Chair. Kuwait supports proposal 6 to transfer the striped hyena into Appendix 1. The proposal shows that hyena faces severe habitat degradation, killing, and very active illegal trade involving live cuffs and body parts for traditional medicine. An Appendix 1 listing will provide the necessary level of international protection and help stabilize remaining fragmentation population. For this reason, Kuwait strongly support proposal number 6. Thank you.
Thank you. Tanzania.
Thank you, Chair. The United Republic of Tanzania commends the proponent for submitting the proposal to transfer hyena, the striped hyena, from Appendix 3 to Appendix 1. The United Republic of Tanzania, as one of the range states for this species, does not support the proposed transfer to Appendix 1. Current information indicates that the species does not meet the biological criteria outlined in Annex 1 of Resolution Conf 9.24, Rev CoP17. In addition, the proponent themselves acknowledge data limitation that make it difficult to substantiate the justification for Appendix 1 listing. Tanzania further notes that available evidence does not demonstrate that international trade constitutes a significant threat to the survival of the species. Tanzania remains committed to working collaboratively with all parties and relevant stakeholders to strengthen data collection monitoring, and conservation measures for the species. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tanzania. I have Turkey.
Thank you, Chair. This is the first time Turkey is taking the floor. With this opportunity, I would like to thank Uzbekistan with warm hospitality, and with this proposal, we support Tajikistan.
Thank you, Turkey. I have the UK.
Thank you, Chair. The UK would like to thank Tajikistan for this proposal. The UK wishes to address an error contained in Annex 2 to the document, which indicates that the UK is in support of this proposal, when in fact, consulted by the proponents, we simply responded to confirm that we aren't range state. Whilst we recognise that the species appears to be in decline and there is some international trade, there is insufficient data to be able to demonstrate that the species meets the biological criteria for Appendix 1. We therefore would not support an Appendix 1 listing at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Nepal.
As Nepal is taking the floor for the first time, Nepal congratulates Uzbekistan for hosting the CoP20 and provides great hospitality, Regarding the striped hyena, Nepal also has very small population, which is about less than 100 individuals in the wild. The domestic law completely bans its trade and any hunting, so Nepal supports the proposal to include the striped hyena in Appendix 1. Thank you.
I will take three more. I have Tunisia.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Tunisie, en tant qu'État de l'ère de répartition de l'espèce, elle soutient la proposition de transfert de liens rayés de l'annexe 3 à l'annexe 1 pour une meilleure protection. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Uzbekistan.
Thank you, Chair. The Republic of Uzbekistan expressed its strong support for the proposal to uplist striped hyena. As a range state omitted in recent assessment, Uzbekistan holds a critically endangered and highly fragmented population, threatened by human-wildlife conflict, habitat degradation, and the risk of illegal trade. Uplisting serves an important precautionary tool, strengthening the legal framework needed for all range states to combat trafficking and to catalyze overdue conservation measures for this vulnerable species. Uzbekistan therefore supports Proposal 6. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Uzbekistan. Well, I don't think I have one more, sorry. I said I would allow three. I only have allowed two so far, so Zambia, you have the floor.
Zambia supports the position of Tanzania to maintain the striped hyena within Appendix 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, before I will go back to the proponents, because obviously we do not have agreement in the room. We don't have consensus. Before going back to the proponents, I would like to take one or two IGOs, NGOs who have asked for the floor, and reminding IGOs and NGOs to press the button only when I invite them to do so, because there's no use pressing the button while the parties are speaking. So I have only one IGO, NGO asking for the floor. No, I have two now. First, Conservation Force.
Thank you, Chair. We commend Tajikistan for having presented this proposal, but we have to concur with the European Union and other countries in saying that it's quite unlikely that this proposal meets the biological criteria for Appendix 1. And also, there is limited evidence of international trade, and so it's also likely that the species meet the criteria for inclusion on Appendix 1 with the other criteria in Resolution 924. However, Chair, as this could be an important proposal for the region, we believe that it would be very good if Tajikistan could start implementing management measures to ensure the long-term conservation of the species, human-wildlife conflicts, community work, but CITES is not really the right agreement to add anything to the conservation of the species. Conservation Force stands ready to assist Tajikistan and adding parties in this region to improve and strengthen any management measures necessary for the long-term conservation of the species. Thank you.
Thank you, Conservation Force. I have WCS.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't going to intervene, but I really want to thank the government of Tajikistan. This is the first CITES proposal they've ever submitted for this initiative, and all of the range states in North Africa, the Middle East, and Central Asia who support this proposal. I remind parties of the precautionary principle in Resolution Conf 9.24 Rev to act in the best interest of the species. Appendix 1 is the best interest of the endangered striped hyena. Trade is not limited. It's often for magical purposes, and these are not reported in trade statistics. And finally, to correct a misunderstanding, a population of 5,000 is a small population for a species that ranges to North Africa, across the Middle East and Central Asia, without connectivity between these populations. We urge parties to support this important proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The parties are still have still pressed their buttons. If you're in support of this proposal, please take yourself off the list. I think we have heard enough. So I would now go back to the proponents, to Tajikistan, to tell me where you want to go. We don't have consensus in the room, so Tajikistan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, delegates. I think we have a lot of proponents and a lot of support for this proposal, and I would ask the chair to ask the opposition if they agree with the consensus of those who support the proposal, and if not, go for vote.
Thank you, Tajikistan. So I would like to ask the parties who have been speaking against this proposal whether they would be willing to go along with the other parties that are in favor of this proposal. I see the European Union.
Thank you, Chair. Since there seems to be a broad support among range states, we can agree to not break consensus. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Eswatini. Eswatini, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We have a clearly divided room, and I think the proponent may consider amending the proposal and asking for an Appendix 2 listing. This would provide some protection, although, again, I do believe that CITES itself is not a guarantee protection. It will give all proponents and range states and affected countries the opportunity to collect data and bring a better informed request for an Appendix 1 uplisting in the future. So my suggestion, or our suggestion, is that the proponents consider compromising to an Appendix 2 listing instead of Appendix 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Eswatini. Well, it is not being a clear amendment proposal, so I would like to go back to the proponent if they wish to consider that question from Eswatini. So Kazakhstan, please. Tajikistan, please.
We reinforce our position.
Thank you very much. So we still have two parties who were not in favor of this proposal, Tanzania and the UK. So I would like to ask the two parties whether they wish to block the consensus and go for a vote, or if they could be in agreement to go along consensus. Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We ask for the vote.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think we will go along that wish and we will have a vote on this matter. Parties who have asked for the floor, Lebanon and Tunisia, I think we have already heard your support for this proposal. So if you just want to support the proposal, please take yourself off the list. If not, I will give you the floor. Okay, Lebanon, you have the floor.
Je veux demander un bulletin sucré.
Okay, thank you very much. So a party has asked to have a secret ballot. As we have had before, I need 10 parties who are supporting that motion to have a secret ballot. So parties who wish to support a secret ballot, please press your buttons. Okay, we have enough, so leave your buttons alighted. So we have Tunisia, Pakistan, Kuwait, Cameroon, Malaysia, Palau, Belize, Dominican Republic, Central African Republic, Guinea-Bissau, Lesotho, Honduras. Okay, so that is enough. So this is a vote for proposal number 6 on hyena, the striped hyena, to include the species in Appendix 1. The voting type is by secret ballot. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the delegation of the EU. Since this is a vote on a proposal for amendment of Appendices 1 and 2, the decision will be adopted by a 2/3 majority. Technicians. Just to be clear, if you say yes, you are in favor of this proposal. If you say no, you are against that proposal. So the technicians are ready. So parties, you have now 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. Okay, technicians, can you please present the results on the screen? So with 75 votes in favor, 47 against, and 13 abstentions, proposal CoP20 Prop 6 to include hyena in the Appendix 1 was rejected. Thank you. Now I have the United States. United States, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of transparency, the United States would like to say that it had abstained on this vote. Thank you.
UK.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of transparency, the UK voted no. Thank you.
European Union.
Thank you, Chair. To support the full transparency, the European Union and its member states voted to oppose the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Pakistan.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of transparency, we would like to disclose that we voted in the favor of this proposal and also want to note that hyena's Appendix 3 listing was made at Pakistan's request in 2014. Thank you.
Thank you, Pakistan. Djibouti.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Par souci de transparence, nous avons voté oui.
Kazakhstan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the spirit of transparency, Kazakhstan voted yes.
Uzbekistan.
Thank you, Chair. In the light of transparency, we would like to state that we voted yes. Thank you.
Brazil.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the spirit of transparency, Brazil voted in favor of the proposal.
Kenya.
In the interest of transparency, Kenya voted in favor of the proposal. And Mr. Chair, we had our button on to speak on it, and we didn't get the floor. I thank you.
Thank you, Kenya. I have Burundi.
Le Burundi aussi voulait porter la connaissance de tout le monde qui par souci de transparence. Elle a voté oui.
Dominican Republic.
En el espíritu de la transparencia, votamos que sí.
Israel.
In the spirit of transparency, we also voted yes. Thank you, Chair.
Tajikistan.
I would like to thank all parties, and we are considering to bring this issue back during plenary.
Thank you, Tajikistan. Rwanda.
In the interest of transparency, Rwanda voted in favor of the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Rwanda. So now we are done with this proposal. And just to remind everybody, at the beginning of our deliberations in CoP1, in Committee 1, I explained why I cannot let everyone speak, because otherwise we will not get through our agenda. So I have to be choosy whenever I have a very long list of intervenants, and if I get a clear sense of the room, I have to come to a conclusion. That's why I cannot always take all parties' wishes to speak, especially if we have quite a clear sign in the room. That's why I did so, and I will continue to do so. So with this, we now move on to the next proposal, which is CoP20, Prop 7, Arctocephalus townsendii, the Guadalupe fur seal. This proposal is to transfer the species from Appendix 1 to Appendix 2. The proponents are Mexico and the United States. So I think it's Mexico who is asking for the floor, so you will present that proposal. Thank you very much, Mexico.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. México y los Estados Unidos de América presentan la propuesta de enmienda para transferir al lobo fino de Guadalupe, Arctocephalus townsendii, del apéndice 1 al apéndice 2, el cual fue seleccionado por el Comité de Fauna 29 como parte del examen periódico de especies incluidas en los apéndices después de la COP17. El lobo fino de Guadalupe se distribuye en el Pacífico desde el centro de México, Estados Unidos, y cuenta con algunos registros en el sur de Canadá. Aunque únicamente se conocen colonias reproductivas en México, la población actual se estima entre 34,000 y 44,000 individuos y está en crecimiento. Las islas donde se reproduce se encuentran dentro de áreas naturales protegidas, tanto en México como en Estados Unidos, y cuentan con las más altas protecciones para la especie y existen regulaciones para el manejo de mamíferos marinos en Canadá. Las amenazas actuales no están relacionadas con su uso directo, el comercio internacional o nacional de la especie. El lobo fino de Guadalupe es la única especie del género que se encuentra listada en el apéndice 1. El resto se encuentra en el apéndice 2. El comercio internacional es casi nulo desde su inclusión en 1975. Por lo tanto, México y Estados Unidos proponen transferir al lobo fino de Guadalupe, Artocephalus townsendi, del apéndice 1 al apéndice 2, considerando que el comercio internacional no constituye una amenaza para la especie, de conformidad con el numeral 1 de los principios fundamentales del artículo 2 del texto de la Convención y considerando que no se cumple con los criterios biológicos del anexo 1 de la resolución CONF 9.24, REF COP17 y bajo las medidas cautelares A1 y 2 del anexo 4 de la misma resolución. Señor presidente, cabe resaltar que el Comité de Fauna, durante su 33 reunión en Ginebra, el año pasado, apoyó la presentación de una propuesta para transferir esta especie del apéndice 1 al apéndice 2, por lo que invitamos a la conferencia de las partes a apoyar esta propuesta. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mexico, for the introduction to that proposal. I see United States. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Given that this proposal is the product of the periodic review, we thank Mexico for introducing our joint proposal and ask that parties move to efficiently consider this proposal on a species that has recovered significantly since its initial listing. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. And now have Canada.
Thank you, Chair. Canada was consulted in the development of the proposal, and we support the transfer of Guadalupe fur seal to Appendix 2. Canada supports the transparent, science-based process followed by Mexico and the United States through the periodic review process of the Animals Committee. The species has undergone a strong recovery, with populations now estimated between 34 and 44,000 individuals. The populations have an annual growth rate, an increasing annual growth rate, an expanding distribution, and is supported by protected status in all range states, including Canada. The proposal demonstrates that the species no longer meets the Appendix 1 criteria, and the current threats are not related to trade, as trade is almost exclusively limited to scientific specimens. There's effective protection, enforcement measures are in place, and no commercial international trade is foreseen. Thank you.
Thank you, Canada. Seeing no other party asking for the floor, I see Mozambique. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Mozambique is speaking on behalf of the African group, and there is also support of this proposal, given that the population has recovered significantly, and this species is not considered in the red list of IUCN of least concern, and the population continues to increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Mozambique. And Japan?
Thank you, Chair. Japan would like to express its appreciation for the conservation effort made by the Mexico, United States, and Canada, and Japan does support the proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Seeing nobody else asking for the floor, I think the committee in relation to this proposal. So it is quite clear. Proposal CoP20, Prop 7 on Arctocephalus townsendii, the Guadalupe fur seal, to transfer that species from Appendix 1 to Appendix 2 was accepted by consensus. Thank you. Now I would like to move on to the last document, which is in a similar vein, is COP20 Prop 8 on Monachus tropicalis, the Caribbean monk seal. It's a proposal to delete this species from Appendix 1. The proponents are also Mexico and the United States. I see Mexico asking for the floor, so I give you the floor to introduce that document.
Gracias, señor presidente. México y Estados Unidos presentan esta propuesta de enmienda para eliminar a la especie extinta Monachus tropicales del apéndice 1, pues no cumple los criterios biológicos ni los criterios cautelares sobre especies posiblemente extintas de la resolución 9.24 e incluir la siguiente nota en los apéndices. Monachus spp, excepto Monachus tropicalis, se encuentra extinta y fue removida de los apéndices e insertar la fecha de entrada en vigor. Esta propuesta también es resultado de la revisión de la foca monje del Caribe Monachus tropicalis, que fue seleccionada durante la 25 reunión del Comité de Fauna como parte del examen periódico de los apéndices. El Comité de Fauna estuvo de acuerdo en suprimir esta especie extinta del apéndice 1 en sus reuniones 27 y 33, y en esta última recomendó presentar esta propuesta de enmienda a la COP20. De igual manera, en seguimiento a las recomendaciones derivadas del comité, hemos consultado al especialista en nomenclatura y sus aportaciones se ven reflejadas en la presente versión de la propuesta. La foca monje del Caribe es una especie que se considera actualmente extinta debido principalmente a la presión de la cacería y cuya última observación se registró en 1952. Después de búsquedas intensivas en las siguientes 3 décadas, ningún individuo fue documentado en ninguna parte de su área de distribución, que incluía el Mar Caribe y el Golfo de México. Las amenazas a otras especies del género Monachus ya no están relacionadas con un aprovechamiento directo ni al comercio nacional o internacional. El comercio con especies de la foca monje del Caribe ha sido bajo, principalmente con fines científicos, y todos los especímenes se consideran pre-convención. El comercio con especies similares es igualmente bajo. La mayoría de los países rango cuentan con regulaciones de protección a los mamíferos marinos. La foca monje del Caribe ya no cumple con los criterios biológicos del anexo 1 de la resolución 924, ni con los criterios cautelares sobre especies posiblemente extintas del anexo 4 de la misma resolución para permanecer en el apéndice 1. Tomando en cuenta lo anterior, México y los Estados Unidos invitan a la Conferencia de las Partes a apoyar esta propuesta. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mexico. We have asked the interpreters for a couple of more minutes, which they, I think, have agreed. Thank you very much. So I now have Canada.
Thank you, Chair. Canada supports the removal of the species from Appendix 1. The proposal has gone through the periodic review process of the Animals Committee. Canada supports the proposal as the species no longer meets the biological criteria, nor the precautionary criteria for possibly extinct species. Thank you.
Thank you. Canada, United States.
Thank you, Chair. We thank Mexico for introducing our joint proposal. As this species is the product of periodic review, and sadly, likely went extinct even before CITES took effect, we ask the parties to move to efficiently consider this delisting proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Honduras.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Hablo en nombre de los países de la región de América Central, del Sur y el Caribe, aquí presentes, para expresar nuestro apoyo a esta propuesta de suprimir del apéndice 1 a la foca monje del Caribe, Monachus tropicalis. Lamentablemente, la evidencia científica es concluyente. El último avistamiento, como ya lo dijo México, ocurrió en 1952 en unos bancos cercanos a Honduras. Y pese a los extensos esfuerzos de búsqueda regionales, realmente la conclusión es que no existe más. Tal como documentan estudios históricos exhaustivos, esta especie sufrió una explotación intensa en el siglo XVI, con matanzas masivas al inicio del siglo XX, que prácticamente eliminaron los remanentes, las poblaciones remanentes. Las evaluaciones oficiales de la IUCN y la NOAA coinciden en declararla extinta. En este contexto, mantener en el apéndice 1 ya no persigue un objetivo de conservación. Suprimirla, por lo tanto, es una actualización técnica necesaria y coherente con los criterios de la CITES para las especies extintas. Por tanto, respaldamos firmemente esta propuesta. Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Honduras and others. So I see nobody else asking for the floor. So I conclude that proposal CoP20, proposal 8 on Monachus tropicalis, the Caribbean monk seal, to delete this species from Appendix 1 was accepted by consensus. I see NGO Suko, South Africa, has asked for the floor. Just one last intervention, and then I will close here.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll endeavour to keep it short. Yes, we are in support of this because it does meet the rules of the convention. However, a thought has come to mind that there is, on an ongoing basis, rediscoveries of living, previously thought extinct species. And we would urge the COP to consider a move to make provision for a species discovered coming back from extinction to immediately revert to its previous position on the appendices, and in the case of species that have never been on the appendices being rediscovered as a live viable population, to be automatically included on the appendices until such time as they could be properly assessed. Because in all instances, a rediscovered species will be highly threatened and in small numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, Suko, for this suggestion, which has been taken up. So with this, do we have any housekeeping announcements? Okay, so we don't have any housekeeping announcements. So with this, I adjourn the meeting until 2 o'clock this afternoon. Have a good lunch. And thank you to the interpreters, of course, for their indulgence. Thank you very much.